When Augustine's plane touched down, he didn't expect his past to land with him. 4 years gone. 4 years trying to start over, and the moment he steps back into the city, fate throws him an invitation, a class reunion. He almost laughs at the timing. But what really catches him off guard is hearing that Katarina, the woman who once swore of these kinds of events, is coming too. As he walks in, old friends crowd around, their voices blending into one chorus of questions. Where have you been? Why did you disappear? Did you know Katarina never married? The room hums with curiosity and misplaced sympathy, and there she is, sitting across the table, eyes soft, face full of practiced sorrow. But Augustine just looks at her, his voice steady, cold. He reminds them all, and her, of what really happened that day. The day they were supposed to get their marriage certificate. How she'd stood him up and married the student she was sponsoring. The room goes still, the air thick. She opens her mouth to speak, but he cuts her off, raising his hand, the glint of a wedding ring catching the light. In the 4 years I've been away, he said quietly, I built a life, a family, a career. Miss Katarina, it's time to let go. And in that moment, every emotion, anger, heartbreak, disbelief, folds back into memory. He can still see it so clearly, that long line at the Civil Affairs Bureau, the excitement, the future they'd built in their minds. Then suddenly, that boy, Romeo, showing up, sliding an arm around her waist as if it had always belonged there. Katarina's words still echo in him, even now. Don't worry, Augustine. It's just for 2 years. I promise to give him a home. Once he graduates, I'll come back. The one I love is still you. He remembers standing there, watching her walk away, holding someone else's hand, and realizing love doesn't vanish with betrayal. It just burns slower, colder. That day, he didn't cry. He simply made a call. To Fiona, the woman who'd waited on the sideline for years. I need a partner for a wedding, he told her. You in? Half an hour later, they were signing papers. No promises, no tears. Just 2 people trying to make sense of love's wreckage. Now, sitting across from Katarina again, the past staring back at him, Augustine knows this. He didn't just move cities to start over. He left to remember who he was before her. He looked at me first with that wounded expression, the kind that says, how could you do this to me? Like I just stepped on his pride. Then, with a saintly sigh, he turned toward Katarina, playing the victim with practiced ease. Katarina, he murmured, don't be angry with Augustine. It's my fault. I shouldn't have mentioned the warmth of a home. If someone needs to be blamed, blame me. The performance was flawless. A man over 6 feet tall, somehow shrinking himself into the helpless, soft-hearted martyr. A white lotus in human form. My stomach turned. And the worst part? Katarina bought it. Completely. Her face softened, her hand rising gently to touch his cheek, her voice dripping with tenderness. It's not your fault, silly, she whispered, and for a heartbeat, the scene almost looked pure. Then that same softness froze over. Her eyes snapped toward me, sharp enough to cut glass. Augustine, she said coldly, I never knew you could be this petty. Apologize to Romeo. Right now. Otherwise, forget about waiting those 2 years. There's no point in them all. I almost laughed. 2 years. I said, pointing at the red marriage booklet in her hand. You've already registered with Romeo. There was never going to be a wedding between us. Bigamy's still illegal, in case you forgot. Her face went pale, speechless for once. But Romeo, always ready with a sermon, furrowed his brows like an old sage. Bro, he said calmly, you shouldn't say things like that. Once words are out, they can't be taken back. I have no intention of taking them back, I replied evenly. You two are married now, so congratulations. I wish you both a long and fruitful life together. That's when Katarina lost it. Don't be so damn shameless, she shouted. But was I the shameless one? I laughed, cold, humorless, not as shameless as cheating right in front of me. Romeo jumped in instantly, slipping into his favorite role, the soothing mediator. Katarina, Augustine's just angry. Let's go. He guided her away, and as their silhouettes disappeared down the hallway, silence filled the space they left behind. My mind drifted back to where it all began. 7 years earlier. The freshman welcome party. Katarina, in a white dress, standing under the spotlight, her voice clear and bright as she sang a cappella. That moment, that was when she entered my world and quietly built her home inside it. I chased her for 7 years, 4 through college, 3 more into the working world. My life had no room for anyone else. When she laughed, I laughed. When she cried, I rushed to her side. I thought love meant giving, that if I gave enough, it would be returned. Every burden from Wake, every disappointment, I buried deep so she'd only ever see my best. She once told me she wouldn't marry without her own house, so I worked overtime, saving every penny to surprise her. Then she said she wanted to sponsor a poor student, and without thinking, I handed her all my savings. Whatever she wanted, I gave, without hesitation, without question, and in return, she gave all her time, her care, her laughter to Romeo. They traveled together. They shared inside jokes. And whenever I dared to look uncomfortable, she'd snap, "Romeo just sees me as a brother. Can you stop being so data-minded?" Right. I was the one who didn't understand love. And now that same boy, her so-called little brother, had married her, all because of a promise. So what? Did that make me? I wiped the moisture from the corner of my eye and unlocked my phone. A message from Fiona lit up the screen. "I'm already on the plane. Don't worry, I'll make it before the Civil Affairs Bureau closes today." I typed back, "No need to rush. We've got plenty of time." Her reply came almost instantly. "No way. What if you regret it tomorrow?" I smiled faintly. No, there was no regret left in me. Only clarity. Katarina had shown me who she truly was. And I'd finally seen what I refused all those years, that not loving someone is the simplest, cruelest truth. I looked down at the suit I'd worn, the one meant for her, for the future that never came, and suddenly it felt wrong on my skin. Heavy, dirty. I needed to get rid of it. Not just the clothes, but the version of myself that still belonged to her. When I opened the door to my apartment, I froze. Romeo was sitting on the sofa, my sofa, wearing my pajamas, legs spread wide, looking perfectly at home. From the bathroom came the sound of running water. "Augustine, you're back," he said cheerfully, as if greeting an old friend. I didn't answer, just walked toward the bedroom. But his voice followed, smug, taunting. "Katarina's got an amazing body. Augustine, I really envy you." I stopped, turned slightly, and said evenly, "No need to envy. She's your wife now." He thought it would sting. It didn't. Not anymore. But when I opened the bedroom door and saw the crumpled sheets, the damp stains that told a story I didn't need to hear, my hands trembled. I ripped the bedding off, threw it to the floor, and went looking for something clean. Katarina appeared in the doorway, wrapped in a bathrobe, droplets of water tracing her collarbone. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Dirty things disgust me," I said flatly. Her voice rose. "Say that again. Who are you calling dirty?" Romeo rushed over again, sliding back into his favorite role, the pitiful saint. "Katarina, it's my fault," he said softly. "I shouldn't have said I was tired and wanted to rest on the bed. I'll wash the sheets right now." He bent to pick them up, but she stopped him, eyes locked on me. "Augustine, have you lost your mind?" she snapped. "I know you're angry, and I've been patient, but my patience has limits. Now apologize to Romeo, and I'll pretend none of this ever happened." I turned to her, my voice calm, steady. "Sorry," I said. "You can pretend all you want. I can't." Katarina froze, finger trembling as she pointed at me. "Can't you just show a little tolerance?" she snapped, her voice cracking. All I wanted was for him to feel what a home is like, to give him that warmth he never had growing up. He didn't have a family, Augustine. Can't you show some compassion? For a second, I almost laughed. Compassion? For a grown man pretending to be an orphan child? What did his sad backstory have to do with me? I wasn't his father. "If that's the case," I said evenly, "then why don't you two move out? Wouldn't your two-person world feel more like a home?" Her eyes widened, disbelief flashing across her face. "Kicking me out." "Not kicking," I corrected calmly. Just asking you both to enjoy your married life somewhere else. Wouldn't look great if people found out newlyweds were still living in another man's house, would it? I grabbed my jacket, sliding it over my shoulders. I expect you gone by the time I'm back, I said, heading for the door. If not, I'll call the police. Breaking and entering, you know how it works. Without another glance, I walked out. By 4 o'clock, I was standing in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the late afternoon light spilling over the marble steps. Fiona arrived breathless, suitcase in hand, hair tousled from the rush. But her smile was radiant. "Hubby, I'm here," she called, running straight into my arms like a small bird finally finding its perch. I stumbled back a step, surprised. "Hubby." "Of course," she said with a laugh, looking up at me. "We're about to get married, aren't we? What else should I call you?" Then her voice softened, a flicker of uncertainty breaking through. "You haven't changed your mind, have you?" I couldn't help but smile. "Of course not." The paperwork went through quickly, quietly, 2 signatures, 2 red booklets, 1 new beginning. When it was done, Fiona squeezed my hand. "I have to catch the high-speed train tonight," she said. "There's so much work waiting for me. But once I finish, I'll come right back, and then I'll stay for good." I nodded, smiling as she disappeared into the crowd. And there I was, alone again, the fresh marriage certificate warm in my hands. Back at home, I laid it beside Katarina and Romeo's booklet, snapped a photo, and posted it online. "Congratulations on your marriage. Officially licensed and ready to go." The post had barely gone up before my phone buzzed. Katarina's name flashed on the screen. "Augustine." Her voice was shrill, frantic. "Who is that woman? You betrayed me." I held the phone away for a second, letting her fury wash through the static before answering, my tone cool, detached. "Oh, that? The woman I married? I don't think that concerns you anymore. And as for betrayal, that's a word you probably shouldn't be using." "Augustine!" she screamed, the sound sharp enough to pierce. "No need to shout," I said. "My hearing's fine." "You bastard," she spat. "My parents, my relatives, they all know you're my boyfriend. And now you marry someone else? How am I supposed to explain that? You still say it has nothing to do with me? I'm your girlfriend. What you did is betrayal." I laughed quietly, bitterly. "That's funny. My parents and relatives know you were my girlfriend too. When you registered your marriage with Romeo, how do you think that made me look?" "Oh, it does. That not count as betrayal?" "That's not the same," she shot back, voice trembling with frustration. Her twisted logic almost amused me. "How exactly is it not the same? Katarina, you can marry Romeo, but I can't marry someone else? Isn't this perfect now? You have your Romeo. I have my new life. From now on, we walk separate paths." Her scream ripped through the line, raw and furious. "Where are you right now? Get home. Now. We need to talk, face to face." "There's nothing left to talk about," I said quietly. "But don't worry, I'll come back. Just once." Before she could respond, I hung up, then dialed a different number. "Hello, 110? I'd like to report a case of illegal occupation of private property. Yes, the MD community." If she refused to leave with dignity, then I'd make sure she left without it. 7 years of patience was more than enough. Half an hour later, I unlocked the door. The scene inside hit me like a bad joke. Katarina sat on the sofa, eyes swollen from crying, Romeo's arm draped protectively around her. But my gaze moved past them, to the 3 women on the other side, lounging comfortably, sipping sparkling wine. Fiona's sparkling wine. Imported, expensive, the one bottle I'd been saving. I hadn't even opened it myself. And there it was, half empty, their laughter echoing in what used to be my home. My jaw tightened. "Who told you could come in?" I said coldly, "Get out." Before they could move, I strode forward, yanked the bottle from one woman's hand. The liquid sloshed, half gone. Rage simmered low and steady in my chest. Katarina slammed her hand on the table and shot to her feet. "Augustine, what's wrong with you? They're my friends. I invited them." I met her glare with one of my own. And I recall telling you to leave. This isn't your home. And tell me, who gave you the right to rummage through my things?" Her hands shook with fury. Her friends exchanged looks, their voices dripping with mockery. "Katarina, since your boyfriend doesn't want us here, we'll go," one of them sneered. "But honestly, you should dump him. What a stingy man." "Right? It's just a bottle of wine," another laughed. "So petty, such a buzzkill." Romeo, ever the peacemaker, spoke softly. "Augustine, you misunderstood. They just came to help ease the tension between you two." Tension. I let out a low laugh. I don't recall having any tension left with her. Romeo tried to speak again, but Katarina stopped him, her face tightening, eyes wild with rage and something else, desperation, maybe. And in that silence between us, something broke for good. "Augustine," she said, her voice trembling, "I'll ask you one last time. Do you really want me to leave?" I didn't even look at her. I'm not answering that question a second time. Her face hardened, fury flashing across her eyes. "Fine." She spun toward her friends, her voice sharp and shaking. "Girls, smash it. Smash everything. I don't care what it is. Just break it. If anything happens, I'll take the blame." For a moment, the room went still. Then the madness erupted. "Ha! Katarina, you're such a queen." One of them laughed. "About time you did this." The sound of shattering glass cut through the air. Then another crash. And another. They were everywhere, screaming, laughing, grabbing whatever they could get their hands on, tearing through my living room like a pack of wild animals. Katarina didn't lift a finger. She just stood there, watching me, eyes gleaming with something that looked disturbingly like satisfaction. "Augustine," she said softly, "if you get on your knees right now and beg me, there's still time to fix this." I shook my head and laughed under my breath. Beg? I honestly couldn't tell what made her think I still loved her enough to forgive everything. But this wasn't new. She'd always been like this. Every time she threw a tantrum, she'd destroy something, slam a door, hurl a vase, scream until she got what she wanted. And every time, it was me picking up the pieces, cleaning the glass, whispering that patience was love. But not anymore. Watching them tear my home apart, I didn't feel anger, just a cold, distant amusement. Go ahead, I thought. The more you break, the harder you'll cry later. Stop them, Katarina, Romeo muttered weakly from the side, pretending to mediate. Calm down. When she ignored him, he turned to me, putting on his best mask of gentle concern. Augustine, just apologized to her. Man, if this keeps up, it's only going to get worse. You'll be the one losing out. Keep acting, I thought. If I hadn't caught that tiny spark of excitement in his eyes, I might have believed him. Losing out. I muttered, not today. I pulled out my phone, opened the Notes app, and started recording the price of every item they destroyed, one by one. The sound of breaking glass became just background noise. Then came a knock, loud, firm, precise. I smiled, right on time. When I opened the door, 3 uniformed police officers stood there. The chaos behind me stopped instantly. Katarina and her friends froze mid-motion, their faces blank with shock. She turned toward me, her voice trembling. You actually called the police." I shrugged. "Didn't I warn you? I said if you weren't gone by the time I got back, I'd report you for trespassing." Then I looked at the officers. It's them and her husband. They broke in without permission and refused to leave. For a long second, no one moved. Then her so-called friend snapped back to life. "Augustine, I can't believe you do this," one shouted. "Katarina must have been blind to ever love you." "Yeah," another sneered. "She just wanted to help Romeo fulfill a promise. And you're calling the cops? You're pathetic. HMPH. Come on, Katarina. A man like this doesn't deserve you." I tilted my head, voice calm. "Sorry, no one's leaving today." They froze again. "Smash up my house and think you can just walk out." I said, tone low but sharp, "The world doesn't work that way." I turned to the officers. "These women deliberately destroyed my property. I want full compensation." The color drained from their faces immediately. You call yourself a man. One stammered. You're really making us pay. Another scoffed, voice shaking. You wish. We're leaving. Let's see who dares stop us. I didn't move. I didn't have to. Intentional destruction of property carries legal consequences. The lead officer said evenly, if you refuse to compensate, you'll need to come with us to the station. The words hit like a hammer. The women who'd been shouting a moment ago went pale, trembling. Officer, this is a misunderstanding, one pleaded. We were just trying to calm things down. Yeah, we didn't mean to break anything, another added quickly. Katarina, say something. Right, a third chimed in desperately. You told us to do it. You said you'd take the blame. Katarina's face flushed deep red as she glared at me, fury burning through the humiliation. Augustine, do you really have to be this ruthless? I met her eyes with a cold, steady silence. She was the one who'd married another man, the one who ordered her friends to destroy my home. Yet somehow I was a villain for drawing a line. 7 years of patience had taught her one thing, that my boundaries could always be pushed lower, my forgiveness always guaranteed. Too bad. When love exists, it's called patience. When love dies, it's called self-respect. And right now, I was done being her fool. When she saw I wasn't budging, Katarina tried another angle. She turned to the officers, her tone softening. Officer, this is all a misunderstanding. He and I are a couple. We just had a small argument. My friends were here to help mediate. Her friends jumped in immediately, nodding like puppets. Yes, exactly. We're all good people. Don't let him fool you. The officers turned their attention to me, waiting for clarification. Without a word, I reached into my pocket, pulled out the 2 red marriage certificates, and placed them on the table. I'm already married, I said evenly. And as of this morning, so is she. 2 married people can't exactly claim to be a couple, can they? Everything she just said, pure fiction. Katarina's hand shook violently as she pointed at me, words caught somewhere between rage and disbelief. Enough, said the lead officer, cutting her off. Save it for the station. You can explain everything there. At the station, I stood firm, demanding full compensation. And just as I expected, the moment things got real, Katarina's loyal friends turned on her. This was your idea, one cried. You told us to do it. You pay for it. Exactly, another hissed. We're not taking the blame for you. Katarina, friendship is friendship, said the third, but money's money. Don't you dare dump this on us. Katarina's face went from red to pale to green, the fight draining from her eyes. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel pity, only peace. I stood off to the side, watching the chaos unfold with a kind of detached amusement. So this was the sisterhood she bragged about, the group she claimed would always have her back. Funny, when it came to gossiping, drinking, and pretending to be inseparable, they were flawless. But the moment real trouble showed up, they scattered faster than leaves in a storm. Still, she couldn't really blame anyone but herself. People attract what they are, and if these were her closest friends, well, that said everything, didn't it? The thought that I had once loved a woman like her, for 7 long years, made my stomach twist in disgust. I exhaled, sharp and final. Forget it, I muttered. I'll just pay for everything myself. Katarina clenched her jaw, her pride barely holding together. Fine, she snapped. How much do you want? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through my notes like I was checking an invoice for a business deal instead of a broken relationship. Let's see. Floor repair, custom dining table, imported sofa, wall restoration. I paused, then smiled faintly. I'll even round it down for you. The total, 150,000 yuan. She froze. What? That much? I met her eyes, calm and cold. You've never paid a cent for this place. Not for the apartment. Not for the renovations. You never cared about the cost. So of course it sounds high to you. Should I pull out every receipt? My voice hardened. Every yuan came from late nights, overtime, and my own hands. 150,000. Not a cent less. Her face twisted in anger. Fine. I'll pay. Then she turned to Romeo. "I only have a little over 10,000. You will have to cover the rest." Romeo's expression faltered. "Katarina, I don't have that kind of money." She blinked, stunned. "What do you mean you don't have money? I give you over 30,000 yuan every month for expenses. Did you spend all of it?" Romeo's tone softened into helpless innocence. "It's not like I wanted to, but college is expensive, you know? Eating out, club activities, study materials, it all adds up. I haven't saved a single yuan." Katarina stared at him, torn between disbelief and frustration. Then she turned back to me, her voice clipped. "You heard him. I'm short on cash. He doesn't have any either. I'll pay you back when I can." "No." My voice was flat. "Pay it now." "Don't push it, Augustine," she snapped, her anger cracking through the air. "It's just 150,000. I said I'll pay you back." "Then pay it now." Her breath came in furious bursts, eyes blazing with humiliation. I turned to Romeo, my tone edged with quiet irony. "Do you really believe he doesn't have a single yuan?" Romeo's mouth slipped, just for a second, before he caught himself. "What are you implying? You know how costly college is. And with how kind Katarina's been to me, do you really think I'd lie to her?" I let out a low, cold laugh. "Maybe. But burning through 30,000 a month? That's not survival. That's hiding something." And right then, a clear, confident voice sliced through the tension. "Of course he has a reason to lie." We all turned, and there she was, Fiona. She stepped inside, calm and radiant, her presence cutting through the air like sunlight through dust. For a second, I just stayed, surprised, but genuinely relieved. "You're back? I thought you had work piling up." She smiled softly. "No matter how busy I am, nothing's more important than you, husband." Her words hit the room like a bomb. Katarina's voice trembled with fury. You home-wrecking fox. You've always had your greedy eyes on Augustine." Fiona didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled, serene, almost kind. "You're right," she said sweetly. "And thank you, Katarina, for making it possible." The air shifted. Fiona's voice was calm, but every word landed like a knife. "If you hadn't chosen to marry Romeo today, showing Augustine exactly who you are, I might never have had this chance. So really, you're half a matchmaker. I should treat you to a meal, though judging by your face, you're not exactly hungry right now." Katarina's face froze, fury simmering beneath the surface. If we weren't in a police station, I was sure she would have lunged. Fiona's tone softened, almost pitying. "Don't look at me like that. You were the one who pushed him away. I didn't break your relationship. You did that all on your own." Then her voice dropped, sharp and cold. "But tell me, don't you ever wonder where all that charity money for your beloved student really went? Over 30,000 a month. That's quite a lifestyle for a college boy." Her gaze flicked toward Romeo, whose face stiffened. "Let's just go," Romeo muttered, gripping Katarina's hand like a lifeline. "I'll figure something out." Katarina squeezed his hand back, eyes still locked on Fiona. "You're just a student. You can't possibly afford that much." "No, I want to hear what this woman has to say." She turned to Fiona, her voice dripping with disdain. "Go ahead. I'm listening. Let's see what kind of story you can make up." Fiona's smile was faint, the kind that said she already knew the ending to a story no one else had caught up to yet. "You'll know soon enough," she said softly. Then, with calm precision, she reached into her bag and pulled out a stack of glossy photographs. The sound of them hitting the table echoed through the room, sharp, final. "Take a look," she said. "Here's what your model student has been doing behind your back." Katarina frowned, confusion flickering across her face as she picked up the photos. She flipped through them slowly, first disbelief, then horror, and finally pure fury. In one explosive motion, she threw the entire stack straight at Romeo's face. The photos scattered across the floor like a burst of ugly truth. I glanced down. Restaurant dates, luxury shopping trips, hotel lobbies. Romeo's face in every one of them, always smiling, always with a different woman. I couldn't help the smirk tugging at my lips. No wonder 30,000 a month wasn't enough. He hadn't been broke. He'd been funding his own little harem. Katarina's voice shook with rage. You used my money to keep other women? Unbelievable. You're even worse than I thought. Romeo's face went pale. Katarina, no, these are fake. They are photoshopped. You know me. I can barely talk to girls, let alone. Fiona cut him off, her voice cool and steady. Whether they are real or not isn't for you to decide. This is a police station. We can have the tech team verify them, if you'd like. That shut him up instantly. Then came the smack. A sharp, stinging sound that cracked through the air. Katarina's hand trembled as she hit him, her fury shaking every word. I gave you everything. I saved and scraped to pay your tuition. I broke up with my boyfriend of 7 years so you could have a home, a life, and this is how you repay me? Romeo's mask finally slipped. He let out a bitter laugh, the charm draining from his face. You insisted on sponsoring me. I never begged you for anything. You wanted to play savior. I just played along. His tone turned cruel. And once the money's in my account, it's mine. I'll spend it however I want. That's not your business. Katarina snapped. You bastard. She lunged at him, nails flashing, but Romeo wasn't some helpless student anymore. He grabbed her, the two of them tangling in a furious mess until officers rushed in to separate them. Katarina was screaming now, hoarse and broken. I gave up everything for you. My love, my future, and you betray me like this? Romeo sneered. Don't act like some tragic martyr. You didn't love me. You loved the way I made you feel. Young, wanted. You wanted to own me, and I wanted your money. We were both using each other. Don't pretend otherwise. I'll kill you, she screamed, trying to lunge again, but the officers held her back. Fiona tugged gently at my sleeve, her voice low. Hubby, this circus is over. Let's go. I nodded. As we turned to leave, I looked back at Katarina, wild-eyed, shaking, broken, and said evenly, 150,000. Not a cent less. You have 1 week. After that, you'll hear from my lawyer. As we stepped out of the station, her curses still echoed behind us, raw, desperate, fading with distance. I turned to Fiona, curiosity cutting through the calm. Why did you even bother looking into Romeo? She smiled up at me, slipping her arm through mine. Because she needed to see who she threw her life away for and who she lost in the process. You're a good man, Augustine. Someone had to show her that. You really think I'm a good man? Of course, she said without hesitation, rising on her toes to plant a soft kiss on my cheek. My husband is the best man in the world. No objections allowed. I laughed quietly, my hand tightening around hers. The days that followed passed in a blur of light and peace. Fiona and I fixing up our new home, talking late into the night, building something real. She told me she'd resign from her job. Once her handover was done, she'd move in for good. No more distance. No more waiting. A week slipped by before I even noticed. Then, one afternoon, the doorbell rang. Katarina stood there. In just 7 days, she looked like she'd aged years. Her cheeks hollow, her eyes red and tired. I've divorced Romeo, she said, her voice trembling as she pulled a green divorce certificate from her bag. Look, so what? I interrupted, my tone calm, detached. She reached for my hand, gripping it so tightly it hurt. Let's start over. Augustine, please. I know I was wrong. We can fix this. Let's get married again, have a baby, a family, like before. Please. I didn't answer. I just turned and walked into the bedroom. When I came back, I was holding my marriage certificate, the one with Fiona's name beside mine. I held it up between us, my voice quiet but final. Katarina, it's broad daylight. Stop dreaming. Fiona and I are getting married next weekend. You're welcome to come. I don't mind one more pair of chopsticks at the table. Her face crumbled. No, you can't be with her. I love you. You promised we'd be together forever. She cried, shaking her head, her voice breaking apart. But for the first time in 7 years, I felt absolutely nothing. All warmth drained from my face as I looked at her and said softly, So you do remember we once made a promise? I looked at her, pale, trembling, searching for something to say, and asked quietly, "Then tell me, Katarina, what did all of it mean?" My voice was calm, but every word carried the weight of 7 years. "You left me standing alone outside the marriage registry, walked straight in with another man, and used the home I bought, our home, to give him warmth. When you did all that, did our forever ever cross your mind?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out. All color drained from her face. She stood there frozen, like someone suddenly realizing the full weight of what they'd done. I didn't let the silence linger. "Katarina," I continued, my tone steady, almost attached, "I loved you for 7 years. I gave you everything I possibly could. And from the moment you decided to sponsor Romeo, you weren't helping someone in need. You were using my love to feed your own savior complex. Tell me, am I wrong?" She shook her head weakly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "It's my fault," she whispered, voice cracking. "It's all my fault. I'm sorry, Augustine. I'm so sorry." But the words felt hollow, worn out from being said too late. "There's no need to apologize," I said calmly. "Just don't disturb my life again. That will be the greatest respect you can show me." My eyes didn't waver. "And about the 150,000, not a single yuan less." Her gaze darted up, desperate. "Augustine, are you really that heartless? You won't leave me even the smallest way back?" I looked at her for a long moment, and when I finally spoke, my voice was quiet, but heavy as stone. "You want a way back now, but the only road I had was the one you destroyed with your own hands." The words hit her like a blow. Her knees gave out, and she crumpled to the floor, sobbing without sound. The next day, she came again to deliver the money. When she handed me the thick envelope, her hands were trembling, but she wouldn't let go. Her voice shook with the last flicker of hope still clinging to her heart. "Is it really impossible?" Before I could answer, Fiona spoke up first. Her tone was cool, composed, cutting through the tension like glass. "Miss Katarina," she said, "if I were you, I wouldn't even have the face to ask that question." Katarina's voice cracked, desperate and high. "You don't understand. I'm a victim, too. Yes, I registered with Romeo, but I swear I never betrayed Augustine. I'm clean." Fiona let out a soft, sharp laugh, one that carried more truth than anger. "Maybe your body's clean," she said evenly, "but your heart? You took the promise of marriage that belonged to Augustine and gave it to another man. Even if you never crossed the line, that alone is the dirtiest betrayal of all." Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Each word struck harder for how calm she was. "I honestly don't know where you find the nerve to beg for his forgiveness." Katarina's face flushed deep red. Anger, shame, heartbreak all twisting together until she couldn't hold it in anymore. I reached for Fiona's hand and gave it a small tug, signaling her to stop. Then, with one steady pull, I took the envelope from Katarina's trembling grasp. "Go," I said quietly. "Our story ends here. No hate, no love, just nothing left." Her composure shattered. She turned and ran from the apartment, tears streaming down her face. A week later, Fiona and I were married, just as we planned. The ceremony was small, warm, filled with light. But even in that brightness, I saw her, Katarina. She came. She looked thinner, paler, her once proud eyes now dull and empty. When Fiona and I walked over to toast her table, she forced a smile, a fragile, trembling curve that looked more like pain than joy. "Congratulations," she said softly, her voice breaking. "I wish you both a lifetime of happiness." I lifted my glass, my tone polite but distant. "Thank you." She downed the liquor in one gulp, choking as it burned down her throat. The tears came uninvited, catching the light as she coughed, eyes red. When she looked up again, her gaze met mine, full of something between longing and despair. I nodded once, gently, and turned away. Fiona's hand slipped into mine, warm and sure, and together we moved on to the next table. Behind us, over the music and laughter, I could still hear her quiet sobs, muffled but heartbreakingly clear. That night, long after the guests had left and the lights were dim, my phone buzzed with one last message. "I'm leaving this city. I wish you happiness. Truly, I stared at the screen for a moment. Then, without replying, I deleted it. For a while, I just stood there in silence. The air felt still, not heavy, just still. Then I walked to the window. Outside, the night was deep and quiet. But far to the east, the first faint light of dawn had begun to rise, pale gold spreading slowly across the sky. A new day was beginning, and for the first time in years, I felt like I could finally breathe.